What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports, back again with another one. One of the biggest names in the sport of boxing, future Hall of Fame fighter, current undisputed super middleweight champion, Saul Canelo Alvarez, who has a record of 60 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, 39 KOs. When you look at his resume, it's one of the best resumes in the history of boxing. He's fought Floyd Mayweather Jr., he's fought Sugar Shane Mosley, he's fought Miguel Cotto, he's fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., he's fought Amir Khan, he's fought Dmitry Bivol, he's took on Gennady Golovkin, aka Triple G, he's took on Austin Trout, he's took on Josecito Lopez, aka the Riverside Rocky, he's took on James Kirkland from my neck of the woods, Austin, Texas. I'm from H-Town. But James Kirkland was a guy at once upon a time was a feared knockout artist. Had no chin. Had what you call a chandelier glass jaw. And I was actually at that fight. That fight took place at Minute Maid Park, home of the Houston Astros. And he had a highlight reel, a knockout. He's also taken on Alfredo Anguilla. That was his first pay-per-view after the loss to Floyd Mayweather Jr. He established himself as a pay-per-view attraction in his first fight as the A-side. That fight did 300,000 pay-per-view buys. Canelo Alvarez is one of the, if not the best fighter to come out of Mexico, top 5 all-time Mexican fighters. You know, you got to put him up there with Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., Juan Manuel Marquez, Salvador Sanchez, Felix Tito Trinidad. You got to put him in there with all the great Mexican fighters. My bad, Tito Trinidad is from Puerto Rico, but right up there with the Sanchez's of the world, the Marquez's of the world, and the Chavez Seniors of the world. He's right up there in my book. With all that being said, he once again is fighting May 4th. Not so much that day May 4th, but he once again is fighting in May, Cinco de Mayo weekend, as he has occupied those dates for the last several years, basically taking those dates away from Floyd Mayweather Jr., who was fighting on those dates. Those are prime dates. Those are dates that the Mexicans celebrate, Cinco de Mayo and Mexican Independence Day. That'll be going down in September, and he'll be taking on a fellow Mexican fighter in Jaimie Munguia, who has a record of 43 wins, 0 losses, 34 KOs. Now, this is going to be another day at the office for Canelo Alvarez. He's been on this stage before. When you look at his last fight versus Jermell Charlo, who was undisputed at 154 pounds, he showed everybody that he ain't lost too much. You know, he might not be at his peak, but he damn sure is not a guy that has lost his fastball. He's still at the top of his game, and when he's hitting on all cylinders, he is one of the best fighters in boxing. He'll be taking on a young, undefeated fighter, a guy that I think people are sleeping on. This guy has really improved under the tutelage of legendary trainer Freddie Roach, who has trained fighters like Manny Pacquiao, Mike Tyson, and James like Tony. So he's got a legendary trainer that's going to be training him, and he's very, 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 very good fighter. He impressed me in his last outing. He fought behind the jab. He showed great head movement, throwing beautiful combinations in that fight, setting up his punches very well. He was able to fight a complete fight. The best fight I've seen since he defeated Saddam Ali several years ago. Now, he must establish the jab against Canelo Alvarez. As we've seen in the Dmitry Bivol fight with Canelo, that he has problem with guys that have very good jabs. Bivol was able to hit him with the jab all night long, make Canelo Alvarez have to reset. And that's what you want to do with a guy that's trying to apply pressure. You want to hit him with the jab and stay on the outside and constantly make him have to reset, constantly make him have to worry about trying to get around that jab. And that remains, in my opinion, the best weapon in boxing, the jab. And what Canelo gonna have to do is he's a hook artist. He has a great left hook. He does a good job of disguising his left hook. And he's gonna try to get Jaime to bring his hands up, and he's gonna try to go low when Jaime brings his hands up, and once he start landing those body punches early in the fight, as the fight progresses, he's gonna start looking for them big head shots. As Jaime Munguia, if he's able to not take away those body punches early on, he's gonna start bringing his hands down in protection of the body punch, and that's when Canelo gonna start landing those head shots. Man, Canelo is an artist in the ring, man. He does a beautiful job of setting up his punches. He does a beautiful job of executing a very strong, high boxing IQ game plan. He goes to the body early to basically set up the head shots later on and break his opponent down for a possible stoppage. Now, one thing I did notice about these two guys when they were standing face to face, Jaimie Munguia is the much bigger guy, and he must use that to his advantage. Don't be reckless. Don't just go to war with Canelo, because you might look at Canelo like, I'm in a short guy, man. I'm a bigger guy. I'm just gonna use my natural gifts as being the bigger guy and impose my will. He can't do that with Canelo. Canelo is a strong guy. He's been in 168 longer. He knows how to slip punches. Neither guy has great footwork, but with Canelo Alvarez, it really don't even matter that he has not great footwork. He's flat-footed fighter because his head movement is second to none. He has great upper body movement, and that pretty much makes up for the fact that he has slow feet. And that's one thing that Jaimie Munguia has learned in this last fight under the tutelage of Freddie Roach, man. He has great heavy movement, and I think that makes up for the fact that he also has slow feet. And this fight is going to basically come down to, can Munguia establish the jab, and can he land on the outside on Canelo? Can he make Canelo pay a price for trying to close distance? Because when you're in the mid-range with Canelo Alvarez, you're in the danger zone. You got to be either all the way out or all the way in versus Canelo Alvarez. That's one thing that Jaimie Munguia must do. Now, when he is in the mid-range, he must set down his shots. He must get Canelo Alvarez's respect, but he cannot stay in that mid-range constantly. If he does that, then he's going to get pieced up. He's going to get ultimately stopped by Canelo Alvarez, in my opinion. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Like I said, Canelo Alvarez has a great jab. He uses the jab to close distance. He don't just come with the pressure, like a lot of fighters make that mistake as just coming, bringing pressure, not coming in behind the jab, and basically coming through the front door unannounced. And if you're fighting a guy that knows what he's doing on the outside, he'll make you pay all night long, like Lionel Richie. All night long, all night. He'll make you pay all night long if you ain't coming in behind the jab. And that's one thing that Canelo Alvarez is very advanced at in doing. That's why he is one of the greatest fighters of all time, top 25 all-time fighter in my opinion. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. I like Canelo Alvarez by unanimous decision. I think the fight is very, very competitive. I think Jaimie Munguia has his moments. I like what I see out of Jaimie Munguia, but one thing that I have to say on this video about Jaimie Munguia is he never been on this stage before. And there's something to be said about first time being on that stage. I remember when Tim Bradley fought Manny Pacquiao. That was his first time on that stage, and it didn't really hit him until when he walked into the ring. You know, walking from the dressing room to the ring, that's when it really hit him. You know, you can get out there walking, and you get the crowd going crazy. Everybody got their camera phones out, taking pictures. It's an electric atmosphere. The buzz is in the arena. It's just a different feel than a fighter has ever experienced fighting, you know, in other fights, fighting on undercards, or even main event fights, not fighting on a fight of that magnitude. And that is going to be very, very interesting how Jaimie Munguia handles that first time on the big stage. And I think this fight is going to be about Jaimie Munguia's mentality. It's going to be 50-50. It's going to be a mental game and a physical game as far as Jaimie Munguia go. It's going to be just as much mental as it is physical. Because again, this is his first time on the big stage. He's going to be tested. He's going to face adversity in this fight, fighting a guy on the level of Canelo Alvarez. Can he rise to the occasion? Now, when you look at his resume, a lot of people say his resume is thinner than synthetic oil, but I do give him credit for having a solid resume. Now, he beat Saddam Ali several years ago, and Saddam Ali was a junior middleweight champion who had defeated Miguel Cotto, coming off a career best win, beating a Hall of Fame fighter in Cotto. But he was just too big for Ali, who was a career junior welterweight that had moved up to 147 and had been gifted a chance to take on Miguel Cotto when Errol Spence Jr. turned the fight down, and he took advantage of it and beat Cotto. That set the stage for him to fight Jaimie Munguia, who at that time was a 154-pound contender and was a big junior middleweight. So the size advantage was just too much for Saddam Ali to deal with, and he was able to stop Saddam Ali. With all that being said, after that fight, he really didn't fight too many tough fights. Now, he took on Liam Smith. He had a couple of good fights here and there. He took on Sergey Derevchenko, Torian Johnson, Gary O'Sullivan. He took on Dennis Hogan. I actually was at that fight. That fight was at Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. I was actually at that fight. A lot of people thought he lost that fight. I thought he eked the fight out 7 rounds to 5, but it was a lot of swing rounds. Just like the fight with Sergey Derevchenko, which also took place at the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. I wasn't at that fight, but I heard that fight was very close too. I actually didn't even see that fight, man. I think I was out and about that night, tied up into some other things, and get a chance to see that fight. Maybe I'll go back and watch that fight before the fight with Canelo this Saturday night. But I seen the fight against John Ryder, and that's the fighter that fought both of those guys. John Ryder was able to last the distance with Canelo Alvarez, but he was unable to see the final round against Jaimie Munguia, who stopped him, dropped him multiple times, and put on a better performance than Canelo Alvarez. But I do give fans pause in this regard, because I think that Canelo Alvarez actually softened up John Ryder. That wasn't the same John Ryder that fought Canelo that fought Jaimie Munguia. Canelo Alvarez is a guy that, even though he didn't stop John Ryder, he beat up John Ryder. And he's a guy that's a vicious body puncher. When he beat you down and beat you up, you're never the same. And it's going to be interesting to see how Jermell Charlo comes back from the beating that he took from Canelo Alvarez when he moved up to 168 pounds this past September. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But I like Canelo Alvarez to win the fight over Jaimie Munguia, 8 rounds to 4, 116, 112, in a very competitive fight. I think after 8 rounds, after 6 rounds, wouldn't be a bit surprised if it's 3-3. But I think Canelo Alvarez takes over in the second half of the fight, wins 5 of the last 6 rounds, and stakes his claim as one of the best fighters in boxing. And it'll be interesting to see who he takes on in September, man. I'm hearing Jermell Charlo's twin brother, who is the WBC middleweight champion, is going to get the fight. That's the fight that he wants, and that's the fight that the PBC wants, but the numbers have got to add up. And if I'm Jermell Charlo, he needs to get a fight in before that fight in September if he is chosen by Canelo Alvarez, because he hasn't fought in probably 6 to 7 months since his last fight against Jose Benavidez Jr. And before that, he was out of the ring for over 1.5 years. So he's been heavily inactive. So if he can get on that card June 15th, which is Tank Davis versus Frank Martin, that fight's going to get announced Saturday. That fight's going to take place in Toyota Center in Houston, Texas, in my hometown. I will be at that fight for sure. You got David Benavidez taking on Alexander Gosvic, who was a former light heavyweight champion, as Benavidez makes his debut at 175 pounds. Gosvic is a guy that's only lost one time, and that is to Arthur Beterbiev, unified light heavyweight champion, who's fighting for undisputed June 1st versus Dimitri Bivol, former Canelo Alvarez conqueror. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Can't wait for this matchup Saturday night. Gonna be really excited about this fight, man. I was on a podcast last night talking about Ryan Garcia and his PED situations, but I was also talking about the Canelo Alvarez Munguia fight. That fight came up too, man. I'm gonna give you my thoughts on that fight, but this is what I'm predicting that's gonna happen Saturday night, May 4th. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section if you agree or disagree. And if you are picking Munguia, give me the round you think he's gonna stop Canelo in. If you are predicting a stoppage, if you think he wins by decision, let me know that in the comment section. Or if you think Canelo Alvarez wins by knockout, give me the round you think he stops Munguia in. Or if you think he wins by decision, let me know in the comment section as well. Follow me on Facebook, JB Sports. Follow me on TikTok, JB Sports New Media. Follow me on Twitch, Briscoe Josh 77071. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.